Hello once again. Today we're going to be looking at another exciting topic the topic is titled fruits. It is not actually what you think. Fruits is also an aspect of biology, or probably an aspect of reproductive system also in plants. Now let me just recap this very quickly. We started by looking at reproductive system in plants. We talked about the structure of plants. We looked at the structure of the leaves. We talked about the reproductive parts of the plant, which is the flowers. We talked about the floral parts of the flowers. And then we also discussed another aspect of reproduction in plants. We talked about pollination, which we said it is actually a process that must take place before fertilization in flowering plants occurs. And then we also went ahead to look at what I call them gametes that are found in flowering plants, or we can call them sex cells. And we have actually explored the sex cells in flowering plants, which includes the pollen grains and the ovals. And we've seen what they are, what they consist. And then also in that particular topic, we actually looked at fertilization process. What is the process that takes place during fertilization, when the male gamete and the female gametes actually fuse or fertilize. And remember I said that in fertilization process in flowering plants, it is called double fertilization. And we also talked about the seeds, the formation of the seeds. We also looked at development of the embryos, and we talked about that this seed also have to undergo a process which we call germination. And we said after fertilization has occurred, the seeds, the ovals actually develop and become a seed. While we said the fruits after, the ovary after fertilization develop and become the fruit. Okay, and I told you that the fruit contains a seed and the seed contains an embryo. We have discussed so much in much details about the embryo. We've seen how the embryo actually develops into a new plant. We've also talked about the seed, which is located within the fruit. We've seen the seed, we've seen the germination processes of the seed, we've seen what we call seed dormancy and how to break seed dormancy. And this time, which is the last aspect in reproduction in flowering plants, we will be talking about the fruits. Remember, we said that the fruit is actually stemming or comes into being after fertilization and development of the of the ovary. So today we're going to be looking at the fruit, and there are several things we're going to talk about under this particular topic. One of them, we're going to be looking at the structure of a fruit. We're going to define a fruit, and we're also going to be looking at the structure of the fruit. Under the same structure of the fruit, we're going to be looking at the components, or what the fruit consists of, what makes up a fruit. We're also going to be looking at the different classes of fruits. We have different kinds and different classes of fruits. We're going to be exploring that. We're also going to be looking at what we call dispersal of seeds and fruits. Dispersal of seeds and fruits. And we're also going to be talking about importance of dispersal of seeds and fruits, and then we're also going to be looking at the agents of dispersal, and then characteristics of these agents and the seeds and fruits they actually disperse. Now, I want you to pay rapt attention to this particular video, because if you take a look at practical questions, I'm talking about WAEC and even NECO, if you take a look at practical questions in biology, will I say more than 60% of the question, or more than 60 or 70% of the question, you will always see a fruit. Always, almost every year, the possibility of them bringing up a question that has to do with the fruit is every year. In fact, this past WAEC, a fruit was brought. In fact, fruits were brought, and questions were asked based on fruits, and diagrams were also taken down. So please take note of the things we're going to be talking about in this particular topic, as it's going to help you for your practicals. Okay, so before we continue this particular class, I would like us to look at our specific objective again. Now, by the end of this class, you should be able to define what a fruit is. You should also be able to draw the structure of the fruit. Remember, I told you you're supposed to know how to draw a typical fruit, okay, the different types of fruits and all the others, and label accurately and correctly. Very important for you to make your marks in your practicals. And I've told you before, one of the major aims for actually drawing is not just to see your talent for drawing or no. It is actually for you to be able to identify the parts of the fruits and what they are used for. And then number 3 specific objective is that you should be able to mention the different classifications of fruits. You should also be able to define what we call dispersal of fruits, and also mention the agents of dispersals of fruits. Be able to mention these agents. And also you should be able to tell us the importance of this dispersal. Why is dispersal so important? You should be able to tell us some of the importance. And then finally, you should be able to mention the characteristics of wind, water, animal, human, and explosive mechanism dispersed seeds and fruits. We're going to be talking about all of this, but please be able to do something at the end of this particular class. All right. Now, if you are actually set, I'd like us to start very quickly with what is a fruit, the definition of a fruit. If you could recall, while I started this video, I said that fruits are actually developed, will I call them developed fertilized ovary that has been fertilized, and they have actually undergone several development. Now, what is a fruit? Now, a fruit is a mature and fertilized ovary. A mature and fertilized ovary. A mature and fertilized ovary. We give definition for a seed. It is a mature and fertilized ovule. Please get the difference. Ovary contains ovule or carries an ovule, not the ovule carrying an ovary. So once the ovary is mature and fertilized, it grows in or develops into a fruit. But when the ovule matures and is fertilized, it develops into a seed. Okay, it develops into a seed. Now, this definition implies that fruits are products of fertilized ovary. That's what this definition is talking about. But please note, there are some fruits which develop without fertilization. They develop fruits, that is, fruits are developed without fertilization. Such kinds of fruits are called parthenocarpic fruits. Fruits that are not formed by or through the process of fertilization, they are called parthenocarpic fruit. Now, these fruits are often seedless. Examples of fruits that are parthenocarpic, we have banana, we also have pineapple. Now, pineapple and banana are examples of parthenocarpic fruits. If you check them, they don't have seeds within them. All right. Now, let's take a look at the structure of a fruit. Now, that is the structure of a fruit. A fruit consists of what we call a pericarp. Now, the pericarp is divided into 3. Now, pericarp is the layer that covers the fruit. All right, a layer that covers the fruit. Now, this pericarp is divided into other 3 layers. We have the epicarp, we have the mesocarp, and then we have the endocarp. The epicarp is actually the outermost layer. The mesocarp is the middle layer, while the endocarp is the inner layer. So these are 3 layers that makes up the pericarp. Also, a fruit is made up of seeds. Now, it depends on the type of fruits. There are some fruits that has just one seed, and there are some fruits that have more than one seed. But please take note, one thing you will note in a fertilized fruit, or a fruit that is formed from a fertilized ovary, is that they contain seeds. Remember, we just talked about some fruits that are without seeds, parthenocarpic fruit. Then another thing again that makes up a fruit, or you can see in a fruit, is that the fruit contains a style, and the fruit also contains what we call a fruit stalk. So the fruit consists of pericarp, seeds, style, and fruit stalk. Now, classifications of fruits. We have different classes of fruits, different classes. Now, number one, we have what we call true and false fruits. True and false fruits. Number two, we have what we call the simple, we have the composite, and we have aggregate fruits. We will be discussing very briefly on them. Simple, composite, and aggregate fruits. We also have what we call fleshy and dry fruits. We have the fleshy and dry fruits. And then number four, we have the dehiscent and the indehiscent fruits. These are the four types of fruits we have. Now take a look at the first one, which we call true and false fruit. True and false fruit. Now, an example of a true fruit is mango and orange. Mango and orange can be referred to as a true fruit. Now, the reason why they are referred to as true fruit is that the fruits are developed solely from fertilized ovary. They are developed solely from fertilized ovary. We also have false fruit. Now, a false fruit is a fruit that is developed from the ovary and other floral parts, not just only the ovary. Other floral parts are involved in it. An example, we have the pineapple, we also have the cashew. These are examples of false fruits. The examples of false fruit. We also have the next one, which is the simple, composite, and aggregate fruit. Now, a simple fruit develops from a flower with a single ovary. Please note this. A single fruit develops from a flower with a single ovary. Now, a flower with a single ovary, an example of a simple fruit, we have the okra. We also have the tomato. Okra, tomato, they are examples of simple fruits. We also have the composite fruits. Now, composite fruits are fruits that are developed from several flowers, not just a flower, but from several flowers. An example is the pineapple. We also have the aggregate fruit. Another name for composite fruits, you can see it in some textbooks as multiple fruits, all right? Then we also have the aggregate fruits. Now, the aggregate fruits, they develop from a single flower with several ovaries. Aggregates, several ovaries, is almost the opposite of a single fruit or a simple fruit. A simple fruit is one flower, one ovary. But in terms of aggregate fruit, one flower with several ovaries. An example of fruits that are referred to as aggregate fruits, we have the apples, we have the strawberries, and so on. These are simple, composite, and aggregate fruits. As you can see here, aggregate fruits develop from one flower with many separate what? Pistils. Now, pistils also talks about the ovaries, all ripening simultaneously. So we also have the raspberries, we have the strawberries, the blackberries, all the berries, they fall under aggregate fruits, okay? They fall under aggregate fruits. Also, we have the fleshy and dry fruits. Fleshy and dry fruits. Now, what are fleshy fruits? Fleshy fruits is a type of fruit in which the pericarp or one of its layer is thick, soft, and fleshy. Now, most times in practical questions usually come from fleshy fruits. So I'm going to take my time a little and explain more on fleshy fruits, because this is where more questions come out from. Fleshy fruits. Repeat again that fleshy fruits, they are types of fruits in which the pericarp, or one of its layers, is thick, is soft, and also fleshy. We also have the dry fruits. We'll be talking about some of them later. We have the dry fruits. They are fruits in which the pericarp is dry. It's just actually the opposite of a fleshy fruit that is thick, soft, and fleshy. But this one is dry, hard, and woody when the fruit is actually ripe. Dry, hard, and woody. We'll see some examples of them when the fruit is actually ripe. And then also we have types of fleshy fruits. Types of fleshy fruits. Now we have different types of fleshy fruits. Number one type of fleshy fruit is called the drupe. Like I said, this particular question comes out almost every year. Drupe. Now a drupe is a type of fleshy fruit in which the epicarp, remember we said that the pericarp consists of 3 layers. We have the epicarp outer layer, mesocarp middle layer, endocarp inner layer. Now in drupe, the epicarp is usually very thin. Okay, the epicarp is thin. The mesocarp may be fleshy or fibrous. Now an example is mango and coconut. In coconut, the mesocarp is actually fibrous, but in mango, the mesocarp is actually fleshy. Is that okay? So that's why I said that the mesocarp may be fibrous or fleshy, but the endocarp is usually hard and stony. The endocarp is hard and stony. Now, the endocarp is actually the layer that covers the seed. The layer that covers the seed. In terms of of coconut, it is very hard. You need to crack it. Very hard and stony. You need to crack it as to get the seed. So that is the endocarp. In mango, it is also hard, but it is not as hard as that of the coconut. Now, I have been mentioning the examples already of drupe. So we have mango, we have coconut. These are 2 important fruits that are drupes that are always brought out in WAEC. They usually, in fact, regularly. You see it regularly. Coconut and mango. So please take note of the structure of coconut fruit and also take note of the structure of mango fruit. When we started this particular video under the fruits, I showed you the structure of the mango fruit. It has a stalk, it has an epicarp, mesocarp, endocarp, and then it also have a seed. That's the very simple diagram to draw. And please take note again, when drawing your diagram, please ensure that your title is written. You write your title, and your title should not be written at the top of it. No, it is after your diagram, beneath your diagram, you are expected to write your title. Now, if you are asked to do any sectioning in the course of your diagram, please also include the sectioning, okay, or include the view per se. All right, and also please take note of your clarity of lines. Take note of the size while drawing. The size will be given to you in the question. For instance, they might say 8 cm to 10 cm or 12 cm. Please do not exceed. If it is 8 cm, don't go below 8 cm. If it is 8 to 12 cm, don't go below 8 cm. Don't go above 12 cm. Let it be between 8 to 12. Okay, also take note of your magnification while drawing. Also take note of clarity of lines. Take note of neatness of lines. Your lines, your labeled lines must be ruled. Use a ruler to make your labeled lines, and let all of them be horizontal and not vertical. It should not even be diagonal. Please, all lines should be horizontal. And also don't forget to write out your labels clearly, very clearly, and well spelled. Okay, so these are few tips on that will help you in your diagram or in actually drawing anything as it regards biology. Now, the next type of fleshy fruits is the berries. The berries. Now, berries are fleshy fruits in which their epicarp is thin, just like that of the drupe, but the mesocarp and the endocarp are soft, fleshy, or you can call them succulent. They are soft, they are succulent, they are fleshy. Okay, unlike that of the drupe. In terms of drupe, the mesocarp can be fleshy or it can be fibrous, but the endocarp is always hard and stony. But in a drupe, we have the endocarp to be soft and also fleshy. This poses one of the major difference between a drupe and a berry. Now, examples of berry includes, we have tomato, we have orange. These are two important drupe that always come out during your WAEC exam. Both WAEC, NECO, they always come out. Okay, drupe, tomato, orange. Berry, tomato, orange, and then drupe, mango, coconut. Okay, so take a look at the structure of that of a berry, which is tomato. You see the epicarp, you see the mesocarp, you see the endocarp. They are all referred to as pericarp, which is the ovary wall, and then you have the placenta, you have the seeds there. Now let's take a look at similarities, because this particular question always comes out. Similarities between drupe and berry. Now I'll give you three different similarities between drupe and berry. Number one is that drupe, they both have fleshy or succulent mesocarp. Okay, both drupe and berry, they have fleshy or succulent mesocarp. Also, number two is that they both have thin epicarp. I mentioned that they both have thin epicarp. And then number three, they both have seeds. Of course, you're going to see a seed in drupe, and definitely you're also going to see a seed in berry. But there are differences to take note of. This is very important. Differences between drupe and berry. Now, in berry, as regards seeds, berries have many seeds. If you look at a tomato, if you do let's say a transverse section of a tomato, look at it, it has many seeds. Do also the same transverse section of an orange, you will discover many seeds. But in a drupe, you have only one seed. There is only one seed in a coconut. There is only one seed in a mango fruit. Only one seed. So drupe, they have one seed, but berries, they have many seeds. And then another difference between drupe and berry is that the mesocarp and endocarp of a berry is fused. You can't separate it. It's difficult separating them. They are fused together. But in terms of a drupe, there is every possibility for you to separate mesocarp and endocarp because they are not fused. An example is coconut. You can get the endocarp out from the mesocarp. The same thing you can do also for mango. You can remove the mesocarp, which is the part that is edible. You can remove it from the endocarp. All right. Then also another difference between berry and drupe is that the endocarp of a berry is always edible. You eat everything. So they are edible. But endocarp, they are but drupe, their endocarp is not edible. Endocarp of drupe is not edible. Also, mesocarp of a berry is edible, but in drupe, some of it is edible and sometimes they are not edible. In terms of mango, the mesocarp is edible, but in terms of coconut, the mesocarp is not edible because the mesocarp of a coconut is what? Fibrous, and we don't eat it. It's not edible. But the mesocarp of mango is actually edible. But if you compare it with that of berry, in terms of a berry, the mesocarp all is edible. If you look at tomato, the mesocarp is edible. If you look at orange, the mesocarp is also edible. All right. So these are differences between berry and drupe. Differences between berry and drupe. Now, also another type of fleshy fruit is called a pome. An example of a pome, we have apples and we also have pear. Pear and apples, they are examples of pome. Another example of a fleshy fruit is the sorosis. Sorosis includes the breadfruit. You can see it on the screen, that's the breadfruit. We also have pineapple. They are referred to as sorosis, so they are fleshy fruits. Now let's move to the dehiscent and the indehiscent fruit. Now, dehiscent and indehiscent fruit can be referred to as dry fruits. Remember, I told you in dry fruits, the pericarp is usually hard and it is usually not soft. They are hard and stony, all right? Very hard when ripe. So when they are ripe, this thing is very hard, all right? Now, we will be looking at the dehiscent and the indehiscent fruit. Now let's take a look at the dry dehiscent fruit. Now, what are dehiscent fruits? Dehiscent fruits are actually fruits that split to release their seeds when they are ripe. They split to release their seeds when they are ripe, leaving their fruit wall, which is the pericarp, on the plant. So the pericarp still remains on the plant. They just split open and then the seeds are released when they are ripe or mature. Now let's take a look at some examples of dry dehiscent fruit. Number one, very important dry dehiscent fruit is legumes. Okay, the legumes, which we can also call pulses. Now, legumes, they are dry dehiscent fruits that split, please take note of this, they split longitudinally along both sides, to release their seeds when they are ripe. They split longitudinally along both sides to release their seeds when they are ripe. Also, please note that legumes or leguminous fruits have marginal placentation. If you check our videos on reproductive system in plants, we talked about placentation. We said placentation is the arrangement of the ovules within the ovary, and I gave about 5 different types of placentation. Legumes, all legumes have marginal placentation. So an example of legumes, we have the pride of Barbados, we have the flamboyant flowers or fruits, we have the soya beans, and so on. These fruits all have marginal placentation. They all have marginal placentation. Now the next type of dry dehiscent fruit is the capsule fruits. Now, capsule, these are dry dehiscent fruits that split along many sides. They split along many sides, not just both sides, but along many sides to release their seeds when they are ripe. An example is the okra plant. Now, have you seen an okra that is actually dry? When very, very dry, it splits along many sides. You see that same example in para rubber fruit. You also see that in cotton plant or cotton fruits. They split along many sides, not both sides, many sides, in order to release their seeds when they are ripe. Another one, again, another type of dry dehiscent fruit is the follicle. Now, the follicle is a type of fruit. It splits along only one side. It splits along only one side when they are ripe in order to release their fruits. Now, you see that example in fruits like the silk cotton. We also have the cola fruit. So they split along one side in order to release their fruits. They split along one side. We also have the schizocarp. Now, the schizocarp, they are fruits that have several seeds and they break up into units, each enclosing one seed. As you can see there on the screen, they have several seeds and they break up into units, each enclosing one seed. Now, examples of schizocarps, we have things like the desmodium, we have the cassia, and so on. These are examples of schizocarp. Now, we also have the dry indehiscent. Remember, we're looking at dehiscent and indehiscent fruit. That's the last type of fruit. The dry indehiscent fruits, unlike the dry dehiscent fruits, they do not split to release their seeds. They do not split. Remember we said about the dry dehiscent fruits that they split to release their seeds when they are ripe. But the indehiscent fruits, they do not split to release their seeds when they are ripe. They rather fall to the ground where the pericarp actually decays in order to release their seeds. So the pericarp decays, but in terms of dry dehiscent, the pericarp does not decay, it rather splits when it is ripe. Now we have different types of dry indehiscent fruit, and one major important type of dry indehiscent fruit is the caryopsis. Now, an example of caryopsis includes all cereals, which includes maize, we have rice, we have guinea corn, we have millets, and so on. These are all examples of caryopsis. Now, please take note of this important point, that in caryopsis, the tester, or you can call it the seed coat, and the seed coat and the pericarp are usually fused together. Please note, the tester or the seed coat and the pericarp are usually fused. They are usually fused. We also have another example of a dry indehiscent fruit, which is nuts. We have the nuts. Now, examples includes the cashew nuts, we have the desmodium nuts, we have the ground nuts, and so many other examples of nuts. We also have what we call the cypsela. Now, the cypsela, they include the tridax. These are mostly wind-pollinated flowers. So, yes, or you can call them, wind-pollinated flowers. We have the tridax, we have the emilia, and so on. These are all referred to as cypsela. We also have the achene. We have the achene. An example of an achene, we have the strawberries. We also have the sunflowers, and so on. We also have the one we call the samara. Now, samara, I've seen this particular question also practicals, in biology practical. An example of a samara is the combritum. Combritum, they look as if they have wings. They look as if they have wings. These are also perfect examples of wind dispersed fruits. They are perfect example of wind dispersed fruits. So we have the combritum and so on. These are some examples of samara, which are types of dry indehiscent fruits. Now quickly let's look at dispersal of seeds. Dispersal of seeds and fruits. Now, what is dispersal? Dispersal is the transfer of seeds or fruits from the parent plant to other places where the seeds may germinate. So in other words, if we're looking at it in this sequence, after pollination, we have fertilization. After fertilization, we have the formation of zygote, or the formation of fruits and seeds. After the formation of fruits and seeds, before germination will take place, there must be dispersal. So dispersal precedes germination. Dispersal precedes germination. Now we have several importance of dispersal. We're going to look at the importance of dispersal. Number one, dispersal helps to prevent diseases from spreading among plants, because if plants are not actually dispersed, they will be crowded in a particular place. And this crowding, I've already mentioned another importance of dispersal of fruits. Now, and when these plants, or even in animals, when animals or plants or living organisms are crowded in a particular place, there is easy transmission of diseases. Easy transmission of diseases, or easy spread of diseases. So one of the importance of dispersal is to prevent diseases from spreading among plants. And then number two is to also help to prevent overcrowding of plants. And of course, you know that overcrowding leads to also high rate of competition. And then number three, it results in the colonization of new areas with new plants. And then finally, number 4, it helps to prevent undesirable competition. I just mentioned that. Undesirable competition for space, for food, for water, and also for sunlight, which are very important for their germination and survival. So these are the importance of dispersal of fruits and seeds. Now, next to discuss is agents of dispersal. We have several agents of dispersal. We have, they include wind. When we say agents of dispersal, we are actually looking at factors or means through which these seeds are being transmitted or transferred from one place to another for germination to actually occur. Now, we have several agents or factors, and they include wind, we have water, we have animals, we have humans, and then one we call explosive mechanism. And when we're talking about explosive mechanism, we're actually looking at a case or a condition in which fruits actually split. The fruits splits explosively in order to release their seeds for germination to actually occur. So that's what we call explosive mechanism. And an explosive mechanism is not initiated by any human or animal. It is something that occurs naturally when the fruits are ripe. Okay, so let's take a look at some characteristics of wind dispersed seeds and fruit. Like I told you, this particular these questions or this particular topic is so vital, very vital. You can see that this one of these questions in theory questions, you see them in practicals, you also see them coming up in objective questions. Number 1 characteristics of wind dispersed seeds and fruits is that these plants or these fruits, they are usually light and they can be easily carried by the wind. Another one is that they have wings. An example is the combretum. Remember I talked about it. It is a samara. So combretum is an example of a wind dispersed fruits. So they have wings. Some of them, they have flaws, okay, which makes them easily carried by the wind. Like we have the tridax or the amelia, okay, they have flocks. Some of them also have parachutes like tuft or pappus. So examples, we have the tridax, we have combretum, we have amelia, and so on. These are examples of wind dispersed fruits. As you can see, we have the tridax there. It can be easily carried by wind. They are very light, very, very light. We also have characteristics of water dispersed seeds and fruits. Now, examples of water dispersed seeds and fruits, their characters, they are light. They are usually light, and they have waterproof epicap to prevent it from imbibing water, so they don't soak in water. They also have fibrous mesocarp, which helps in trapping air to enable them to remain afloat on water. An example is the coconut. Remember, coconut has a fibrous mesocarp, and if you put coconut in the water, it floats. Okay, so it can be easily dispersed by water. So it can be easily dispersed by water. We also have characteristics of animal dispersed seeds and fruits. Animal dispersed seeds and fruits. Number 1 characteristics of animal dispersed seeds and fruits is that they have hooks and they have hairs. Now, the reason for the hairs or the hooks is so that they can adhere to the hairs of animals. Okay, so when these animals like the birds and so on, even some insects, they come to visit the flowers, these hair-like seeds or fruits get attached to them, and so the animals help in also dispersing these seeds and fruits. Number 2 is that they are edible. Now, most the reason why the animals come to visit or meet these fruits or these seeds is simply because they are edible. Mostly when you're talking about birds, so they visit edible fruits and seeds. And then also when they finish taking it, there are most of these seeds that don't undergo digestion, they pass it out through the alimentary canal as feces and then onto the soil, and definitely it can lead to germination of those seeds. Now, number 3 is that the seeds pass out of the feces, which I have mentioned, and actually germinate. And then examples of seeds that are animal dispersed, they include the guava, we have mistletoe, we have pepper, and so on. These are seeds that are fruits that are dispersed by animals. We also have characteristics of human dispersed seeds. Humans also disperse seeds. Now, one is that the seeds are eaten and dropped on the ground to germinate. Most times the humans, they eat these seeds and then they mistakenly drop it on the ground, and dropping it, if the ground is actually fertile and conditions are actually favorable, these seeds can then germinate into a young plant. And then another characteristics of human dispersed seeds and fruits is that these seeds may be collected and planted. Man has the ability of planting these seeds. Examples of human dispersed seeds include apples, we have oranges, we have palm nuts, we have mangoes, we have the cereals, we have the legumes. They can be planted, okay? They can be planted on the farmland, on a suitable fertile soil. And then finally, we have characteristics of explosive mechanism dispersed seeds or fruits. Now, one of them is that there is a presence of lines of weakness. Now, the lines of weakness are the lines through which they split in order to release their seeds. The lines through which they split in order to release their seeds. Now, another characteristic is that they dry up, they contract to split along those lines of weakness. Examples, we have the Pride of Barbados, we have the Para Rubber, we have the flamboyant fruits, we also have the balsam, and so on. These are examples of fruits or seeds that are actually dispersed by explosive mechanism. All right, so this brings us to the end of this particular class. But before we go, we're looking at very few past questions. Still UTME, we're looking at the UTME. Look at this question. Which of the following adaptation is not found in fruit and seeds dispersed by the wind? That is not found when in seeds and fruits dispersed by the wind. Now, tufts of hairs. Tufts of hairs. This one said wings on pericarp. This one says small and light body. And this one says spongy coats. Now, the spongy coats has to do with the fibrous coats. And of course, when the mesocarp is fibrous, it can be dispersed by what? Water, and not by what? Wind. The tufts can be carried by the wind. Wings, they can be carried by the wings like the combretum, and they are small and light, like we have the tridax as well as the emilia. Number 2 question, look at that question. That is a coconut. They said the fruit represented is mainly dispersed by what? Coconut is mainly dispersed by water. Mainly dispersed by water. Now look at this question, number 3. In which of the following groups of fruits is the pericarp inseparable from the seed coat? When we say inseparable, it means they are fused together. And I told you that you'll see that happening only in caryopsis. Caryopsis. Caryopsis, nuts, follicles, sepsella, they are all dry dehiscent fruits. They are all dry dehiscent fruits. Oh, sorry, dry indehiscent fruits. But these dry indehiscent fruits, the one that is the pericarp and the seed coat or testa, they are fused together, is called caryopsis. So the correct answer is caryopsis. An example of a caryopsis, question 4, is what? Maize plant. Is maize plant. So this is where we call it a wrap-up. We have still other questions you can try yourselves on using this Examguide app. Oh, this is where we call it a wrap-up. We're going to see you in our next class. Bye for now.